Matt, look, it's great to see a family back in the embrace of a community that loves them. Of course, it's going to be better for the children, better for the family all round. But I feel so uneasy about this because we know that both of these people came here on asylum boats. Neither was found to be a refugee. They met here and then had the children here. And there's no doubt at all that there will be people smugglers in Sri Lanka and in Indonesia trying to market what's happening to them as a signal that they could get to Australia and settle here.
Well, Chris, I know Biloela well. There regularly. I'll be there next week. It's a great country town, and I am sure the town will welcome back this family. If I were in their shoes, I'd probably be doing everything that they were doing to find a better life for myself and my family and trying to come to Australia. So you can understand that. But you're absolutely right here that we have to run a migration scheme or system by the law, not by our emotions about any particular case, because over 1,000 Sri Lankan asylum seekers were deported back to Sri Lanka over the last few years. There's been no reports of any persecution of any of those returnees. The civil war had long ended by that stage. So if we can make exceptions like this because of the emotion on a case-by-case basis, it will only encourage people smugglers. We have already seen a boat arrive, so let's just hope the Labor government hold their nerve here. They made a promise about this family. They've won the election, but it cannot become a pattern.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope we don't. The last thing anyone wants to see is that trauma on our borders again. Let's get to energy. I noticed your message on the screen behind you. You're always there with that little device, which is pretty good.
With that.
I want to show you. I want to show you what Chris Bowen had to say the other day, because it seems to show that Chris Bowen understands we need coal-fired power.
A lot of people have called this a gas crisis, and I understand why people might say this, but actually this has been more a coal crisis. It's been more driven by our coal-fired power stations, which are getting very old, having outages. We've had floods in coal mines. That's really what's driven this crisis.
Yeah, so there you go. Labor's new climate and energy minister understands that we need coal-fired power, and we're missing it at the moment. Even the Liberal Treasurer, the very green Liberal Treasurer of New South Wales, Matt Canavan, seemed to have the same awareness.
However, what we can do is get our coal-fired power stations back online so that they're providing the bulk of the electricity at this time. We want renewables and coal at the moment providing electricity, not gas. Otherwise, that will continue to drive prices up right across the nation.
So, Matt Canavan, if they understand our reliance on coal-fired electricity generation, why have they backed and do they continue to back policies that are deliberately aimed at driving it out?
Well, Chris, I've written today that we've focused far too much on pie-in-the-sky type solutions, energy options which don't exist. And I think before we get off the pie-in-the-sky bandwagon, we're just going to have to see a few more people eat a lot more humble pie. It does warm my heart on these cold days to see Matt Canavan and Chris Bowen recognise the importance of coal-fired power, but especially in the case of Matt Canavan, he's been there for years and done nothing. He's ridiculed the coal industry, ridiculed the need to keep coal-fired power stations open. Indeed, he criticised the capacity mechanism that's been designed by energy regulators as coal keeper last year. He denigrated it as coal keeper and said we don't need that. Well, he's got a lot of egg on his face here now, and we need to turn away from this option. We've got to get the facts on the table here. There's this myth emerging that, what we haven't done is invested enough in renewables. We need to invest more in renewables. Well, Chris, we have been investing. We've been investing in renewable energy at the rate of 200 watts per person per year. That's the rate. That's the fact. 200 watts per person per year. That is 4 times the rate of installation that is occurring in Europe and North America. I mean, how much faster do you want this roller coaster to go before we realise it's going to careen off the tracks and cause enormous devastation? We should not be doing the same mistakes we've been making in the past. We need to invest in things like coal-fired power stations. The reason they're not being reliable is because we haven't invested in them. We've denigrated them. We haven't built new ones. We need to get on with that job if we're going to provide reliable power and save our manufacturing industry.
As you point out, we have spent something in the order of 60, 70, $80 billion on getting renewables, and they now solar and wind each produce less than 10% of our power. Coal still produces well over half of our power. Gas, another 20%. So it really gets on your goat and shows how ideological these people are when someone like Chris Bowen then talks about other energy sources as being too expensive. Have a look.
Nuclear is the most expensive form of energy. We have a cost of living crisis, energy prices going through the roof, and what's their big bright idea? They say, let's have the most expensive form of energy we can possibly think of. Let's come up with the most expensive form of energy and let's put that in the system because that's going to make power prices cheaper. They want that debate? They really want to argue that? Bring it on. It's just a complete joke.
Well, Matt Canavan, this is just a nonsense, isn't it? Pretending that renewables are cheap because when they pump out some power, of course, it's relatively cheap, but no one's got a way of firming it up. No one's got a way of storing it and making sure the energy is there when we need it.
If renewables were cheap, we'd have the cheapest power in the world. Because, as I said, we've been installing renewable energy faster than any other country by a big margin. And instead, we've got some of the highest power prices in the world. Where the power prices are just as high, somewhat higher sometimes in Europe, who've been doing very fast installations of renewable energy too. This stuff doesn't work. I mean, we've had the experiments. It's happened. We've trialled it. It didn't work. And look, I'm not against renewable energy, but there can be such a thing as too much of a good thing. And we've had far too much of this. We need to switch back to investing in reliable power now. That's why the energy regulators are desperate to get this so-called capacity mechanism going, which will effectively pay coal and gas and other firmed power systems to sit around while the renewables are there and come online when they have to. That's going to increase more cost to the system. So in terms of cost, I don't know if Chris Bowen is really focused on that. What we need is systems that work. I think nuclear should be put on the table. But look, I recognise nuclear would be years away, decades away probably from this country. Yeah. That's why we should be building coal-fired power stations. You can build one of them in a couple of years. Look at Snowy, the Snowy 2. Remember that was going to be the saviour? It's now being revealed today that Snowy 2 is going to take more than 10 years to build. The cost has blown out to God knows what. And we could have built massive amounts of new coal-fired power stations in the interim just to get them going. I mean, what is the argument against installing a new coal-fired power station now? The world is not going to blow up if we build one or two coal-fired power stations. They're building hundreds of them around the world. We sell the coal to them to run them. And so what is the argument?
But we can't use it.
Just do not want to provide Australians cheap and affordable power.
Yeah, we are an extraordinary country, blessed with all the coal, gas and uranium in the world, but too afraid to use any of it. Just extraordinary. Thanks for joining us, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Matt Canavan there, the National Senator for Queensland.